everyone, my name is Tori. This is Novel Life. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a Is It Worth the Read video. So I've read some new releases lately, and I wanted to sit down and chat about them with you, and I'll tell you whether I think they're worth the read, kind of like what reader probably would like them, and if I would recommend them. I have a couple of new releases to chat about, so before we dive in, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is BetterHelp. I am someone who I love talking about my mental health. It was recently just World Mental Health Day, and I chatted about that over on my Instagram. But I love reading books and sharing my love of books here on YouTube about mental health representation and how I think it's super important. But what I really think that is super important is that your mental health matters. So whether you have tried therapy before or you're brand new with it, BetterHelp works for everyone. So basically, if you click the link in the description box below, you'll be taken to a questionnaire where you will answer about your preferences, what you're looking to get out of therapy, and some other basic information. And once you do that, you will be matched with a therapist within a couple of days. And the one thing I love about BetterHelp that I've said constantly is that I love how flexible BetterHelp is. So I'm someone who, if I have to leave my house and go to a therapy appointment, I probably won't go. It's not something that I look forward to. It's a lot. It's emotionally taxing for me. I love that I can either make a phone appointment where I just call in and talk to my therapist like I'm having a phone call. I can sit down and do a video call if I want to see my therapist face to face and talk things out. Or I use the texting feature or chatting feature within the BetterHelp website where you can chat with your therapist. I use it as a reminder, hey, in my next appointment, I want to chat about this, or hey, this kind of happened and this is kind of how I worked it out. I just want you to know about it. But even between my therapy appointments, I use that. But you could use it any way that you would like, if that's your preferred way of chatting with your therapist. Now, BetterHelp has a 4.3 rating with over 7,000 reviews. I think that just shows how much you can trust BetterHelp. One thing I also love about BetterHelp, as well as how flexible it is to talk to a therapist, how easy it is to switch to a different therapist. It is at no cost to you if you want to switch therapists for any reason. Like I said, make sure you click the link in the description box below where you can save 10% of your first month of therapy. And thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. So the first two books I want to talk about, I'm not going to talk about them together, but I'm going to mention them I'm just going to mention them briefly because they are new releases. So Amazon does these Amazon originals. It has a collection of short stories from different romance authors, and I only read 2 of them, and I didn't want to read all 6. They're very short. You can listen to them. They're free to listen on Kindle Unlimited. If you have the Kindle Unlimited subscription, the audiobook comes with it. Now, I read Hot for Slayer by Ali Hazelwood, and I have read some of her other novellas, and I don't know if this is because it was so short. I enjoyed this one. It's just not my favorite. I feel like as I've gotten older, novellas have not really been my vibe. I like a more in-depth story. I like a lot of detail. I like to know a lot. And so instead of just reading 5 or 6 novellas really quickly, I'd rather just spend that time reading one whole book. So I don't know if these books are particularly for me. I did enjoy Hot for Slayer. I thought it was fun. I thought it was quick. It's a vampire and a vampire slayer. And they've been going at it while she's been running from him for years and years and years, decades and centuries basically. And you see that she finds him kind of losing his memory. He hit his head and he lost his memory, so he doesn't know anything. So she's trying to help him without staying too getting too close to him, because obviously he's a slayer. He's trying to kill her, and all these things come out about how much he loves and appreciates her, and how much he's tried to follow her and watched her from the shadows. Basically, it was cute. It was adorable. I did read the one by J.T. Geisinger, which is Spicy Little Curses, if I'm not mistaken. This takes place in New Orleans. I will say I did not like this one. This is not my favorite. As someone who's from New Orleans, it just didn't click for me. I didn't like it. She talked about tacos way too much, and he was just a tattooed guy that was broody the whole time, and that is really all I got out of it. So I would say if you were a novella type person, you would love these. For my sake, I just don't love them as much as I probably would if they were full-length stories, if that makes sense. Now, one that I just finished is Alchemized by Sin Yu. So this is a very anticipated release for a lot of people, and I feel like I have a lot of thoughts on this. So if I seem long-winded about this, is because I want everyone to know what they're getting when they dive into this book. So I have read Manacled. I actually have a copy. I don't know if you can see it, but it's on my special edition shelf right there. And someone bound that for me as a gift. I didn't pay for it at all. Now, Manacled is a Harry Potter fanfic. This completely different story. Now, I know it is a trend now with Harry Potter fanfic getting picked up and turned into their own story with none of the lore and everything. I will say, if you are looking for a very in-depth fantasy world with the magic and all of that. Senlin Yu put so much time and effort developing her own complete magic system, story, world building, and all of that. And it's actually incredible. Now, I personally love what she did with this book. I devoured this in like 3 or 4 days or something like that. I listened to the audiobook. This is a weapon. It's 1,029 pages. Yes, I've counted down every page when I was reading. The audiobook is really good. Now, if you are someone who has read Manacled, you are going to know most of, like, I would say the surprise points in this book. She did keep a lot of those things, like the twists and plot twists and stuff like that. But I will say that didn't deter my reading from this. Like, it didn't take away any enjoyment. I want to say that. I think that Senlin Yu created a beautiful fantasy world, and I love the talk about the magic. There's necromancers, vivimancers, animancers, pyromancy. There's so much. There's political stuff. There's these wars. There's this how, as a spy, which is our hero, he's basically spying for the resistance. And she is someone who lost her memory at the beginning of the book. She has no idea what has happened in the last 14 months. And that is when the war really got bad and basically ended. So now it's post-war. And she's trying to reconcile her memories and trying to figure out what happened and how she lost her memories. And like why she's the only one basically surviving of the resistance. So I will say this. If you expect the same thing from Manacled as you are reading this book, I feel like you might not be disappointed, but it is completely different. Like, I want to emphasize that point that she completely changed the story. Now, this is a very heavy fantasy book. I would say it's very dense. And I posted on my Instagram, I said it's like reading a textbook, but like not in a bad way. And it's very dense, but not in a bad way. It's just a lot. It's a fantasy book that you really have to pay attention to a lot of things. There's a lot of putting pieces together, if that makes sense. And I personally really enjoyed that. Like, I literally read every single page and I was hanging on every single sentence. The subplot of romance, the romance subplot in this, I did enjoy, but like I knew I expected that from Manacled. But I just love what she did with this. I think for Manacled being a Harry Potter fanfic where basically most people already know the lore, the world, the magic, and all of that, for her to kind of have to literally redo everything and make it her own is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, magical. She is a fantastic writer. She can write like no other. I have so many highlights from this book. I will say I would love to reread it. I just need a break. I can't do a reread back to back. I know some people can, but I can't. I think this was amazing. This is dark. This is a dark fantasy. There's a lot of triggers. There's a lot of talks about a lot of things. And I think that she handled it beautifully. I really love this. I think that if you are a fantasy reader and loves a romance subplot, you would really enjoy it. I think that if you're a romantasy reader, you would enjoy it. Just know that it's very dense going into it. So it's a lot at certain points when you're trying to, figure out everything. Like basically at the beginning of the book, you're figuring out what's going on because she doesn't remember anything. So you're going along on this journey with her and she's learning these things and putting pieces together and all of this stuff the same way you are. So I love that we had that experience with our female character. I don't know if everyone needs to rush into this. You have to be like mentally ready, not only because it's a dark fantasy, but because it's so dense. And I don't want that to deter people, but when you're ready, you'll read this and I promise you, you're going to love it. Like, it was a 5-star read. I loved it. Senlin Yu is an amazing writer, and I cannot wait to see what she does and creates from her own worlds. And maybe she'll expand on this one. Maybe she'll create a brand new fantasy, but I cannot wait to see what she does. I really did love this. Now I'm going to put this weapon down because it's so heavy. The next one I want to talk about is another very beloved fantasy book that recently came out, and that is Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. So I have a whole reading blog where I talk about this book, but I will say a lot of people are like, oh, you have to read Divine Rivals first, or this is a prequel. They are their own things. You can read one without reading the other, or vice versa. I think that Rebecca Ross can write like no other. She is a very poetic and lyrical writer. There's no doubt about that in the slightest. Now with this book, I love it because it's the games that gods play. It is very much that. It's about these 3 realms. Basically, you have the mortal realm, which is in the middle. You have the underling, which is kind of like below the mortal realm, but not in like hierarchy, just like underworld, but it's called the underling. Then you have skyward, and that is the gods that live in the sky above the mortal land. Now, our female character you see in this book, she is born and she is taken to basically like a seer the oracle that will tell her what kind of magic she is, how many points that she has, and depending on how many points she has, is that's where she ranks with other gods in the underling. Now, she is a goddess that can travel between realms, between them. Like, most of the time, underlings can go to the mortal realm and go back. They cannot go to Skyward, and Skyward gods cannot go from the mortal realm to the underling. She can go to all three realms. That is unheard of. So she is kind of like this anomaly, and she is basically the messenger between all of the realms. I think that the magic system that she has created with this book was very interesting. We didn't really touch on the different types of gods in the Divine Rivals duet, but I like the dived into more descriptive kind of like understanding of this. Now, you do meet the two gods that are in the Divine Rivals duet in this book. You see kind of like their origin story, like where kind of it started. And you see that now those gods are at war in the Divine Rivals duet. That is the only connection between them. And that is why I say you don't have to technically read both of them. Or read this one as a prequel. People are saying it's a prequel, this or that. It's just existing in the same world. You can read them in whatever order that you want to. But I did enjoy this. I thought it was slow a little bit in the middle, but I still enjoyed this nonetheless. I did give it 4 stars, but I feel like the romance in the Divine Rivals duet is a little bit more than this book. So if you're looking for more romance in this book, you're not going to find it. If you read the Divine Rivals duet, you know how romantic and sweepingly romantic that book is, how just like otherworldly the romance is. They would do anything for each other. And while they still have that in here, the main story is our female character and her journey and what she's doing in all aspects of her life, romance included. So I will say, if you're looking for more romance, you're not going to find it in here. But the romance subplot is there, and I enjoyed it. It was a good read. Like I said, I love Rebecca Ross's writing. She's one of my favorite authors. So now I do have another fantasy that I've completely fell in love with, and that is The Second Death of Locke by V.L. Bovalino. So this was actually sent to me in PR, the physical copy, but I saw this cover kind of a couple months ago going around where people were saying, oh, this book's coming out in October or end of September. I forgot when it actually came out. And the cover alone, like this cover is just beautiful. She's a knight. She is a well or a hand to our hero, who is a mage, and they kind of have to work in tandem as pairs. Like, this is throughout the whole kingdom. Now, you see that there is this island of Locke, and it has been gone for 20 years. Something happened and it completely disappeared. So basically, that is where all of the people, the wells, that's where all the magic comes from. And you see that the magic has slowly been dying off. There haven't been that many wells, which means mages don't have anything to pull magic from. So they're kind of just becoming mortals, like with no magic. They don't have anything like that. Now, what I love about this is not only is it a standalone, but it is very, very, very romantic in a way that you see these two characters, our female and main male character, Gray and Kier. They have been friends since she was 6 years old. She's an orphan, and you see that she goes to live next door to him, and they've kind of been raised together along with his brother. And you see that they have this like deep respect, like that friends have, but also as like just like a found family aspect. And that goes even more when you see that they're on this mission and they have to bring in a couple of different people. So it's like there's 6 or 8 of them traveling together, and they really get to know each other, and they really get to dive into, you know, things that make them tick, like how, you know, how each of them are. They get to know each other. They become this family, and that's a really like intriguing part for me. But what I love is that this has political intrigue towards these slow parts. And I say slow parts like that because some people are going to consider it slow because it is politics. It's the who are we going to ally with? Let's have these conversations. Let's kind of like piece all these things together. And if we do this, this will happen with this part, like this kingdom, and vice versa. So I love it. I think that she did a very good job with the magic, with the world, in a standalone that's less than 500 pages. One of my all-time favorite books. I love as a woman reading this that women are in power. There's a lot of women that are very powerful in this book, including our female character as a well and that has magic. And I love that. I love that talk. Everything that V.L. Bovalino writes in this is just beautiful. Like, I cannot wait to see what else she puts out, but I love this book. It is very romantic. It's a perfect blend, I would say, of fantasy and romance. And I think a lot of romantasy people would love this who read romantasy. I just found it very sweepingly romantic. The next book I have to talk about is Soulsearching by Lila Sage. So this was an anticipated release for a lot of people, and I got about 25% into this book before I completely DNF'd it. I did not like this book. I don't know if my reading taste have changed, and that's my thing with this book, or if Lila Sage's writing just isn't for me anymore, and that's okay. Not every author is going to be for every person. But for me, when I got 25% into this book, I love a good unlikable female character. I do love that. I love the journey of seeing a female main character or the main male character, whichever one, be so unlikable at the beginning of the book, and then they have this growth, and towards the end of the book, you fall in love with them, right? And you like them, you like who they become. Now, in this case, I didn't like her, and at 25%, I still did not like her. And it went so far that I didn't even want her to be with our hero. I felt bad for him. I was like, I don't want to read this love story because I don't think he deserves her. There's just a lot of things with her and her twin. You see that they can see ghosts, and so when she goes back to her super small town, you see that her power, she can't like see as much as she used to, and she doesn't understand what's going on. But she starts to see some other ghosts, and she's like talking to herself. And at one point she says something, and I don't know why it stuck with me, but she says something like, oh, you're boring, or something like that. But he thinks she's talking to herself, and he thinks it's about him. And I'm like, like, I get it, but like, she's lying, she's not saying certain things, and it's not about her saying ghost, it's like about other things, like why she's there. And I'm just like, I didn't get, like, not my cup of tea, if that makes sense. So I decided to DNF it. I didn't read it farther than that. I do have some friends that finished it and were like, it's fine, it's okay. I think this is for a very specific type of reader. I've heard this could be kind of compared to maybe some of Ashley Poston's novels. I don't think it compares to Ashley Poston because I love her stuff, and I don't think this is the same. But I could be wrong. I do know that there are certain readers out there who loved this, and I'm so glad you love it, but this one was just not for me. Not for me. The last book I had to talk about is Secret Haven by Catherine Cowles. This is the last book in the Sparrow Fall series. We have been waiting for Kai and Fallon's story since Fragile Sanctuary. Now, this whole series is about found family. They're foster siblings living together. They've grown up together. And Kai and Fallon, you see, went to school together. He was 16, she was 15, or he was 17, she was 16. And they had this like uncanny friendship, where they kind of like recognized some darkness in each other, and they kind of like, she started helping him with schoolwork and stuff like that. He was kind of like the bad boy from the wrong side of the tracks, and you see that he actually at some point is placed with her at 16, her family. So he was like, I know we had something going, but you know, like we are, you know, like your parents or your mom is fostering me now, like we can't let this go farther. So basically for the last 14 years, they both have been ignoring the fact that they had feelings for each other. And then certain things happen to where they have to get married. So this book has Marriage of Convenience. It's Always Been You, Second Chance. This was everything that I wanted with Kai and Fallon. It was beautiful. Now he's a tattoo artist. He owns an MMA gym. Like I said, he takes that bad boy from the wrong side of the tracks and turns his life around, but puts his energy into things he still loves. Fallon is a social worker. You see that she works with kids who are in the foster care system and stuff like that, and I just love both of them so much. I love how caring they are, how they want to do everything for their families at the detriment of themselves. It was just the perfect ending to the Sparrow Falls series, and I love their romance so much. Oh my god. I'm so sad that it's the end of the Sparrow Falls series, but I cannot wait to see what Catherine Cowles does next. But I would highly recommend the whole series if you haven't read that series. It's small town, but like small town romantic suspense. And I love every single romance she writes. So that is all the books that I have to talk about in this Worth the Read video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I'm trying to be more descriptive with the books and like really hone in on what I think readers would like and would not like, and what kind of readers would like or would not like this book, if that makes sense. So once again, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is BetterHelp. You can click the link in the description box below to get started on your therapy journey and save 10% off your first month of therapy. But if you made it this far and you want to let me know, leave me the diamond emoji in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content for me. As always, I hope you're living a novel life, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.